Good morning, strangers. It's very fun. Of course, everyone else has seen videos. Everyone else has played the beta. But I'm gonna give my opinion on it real quick. So you wake up in the vault. Here's really my most interaction with random strangers that I had a problem with, I should say, is in the vault. You wake up, people are already talking on their mics, talking about this and that. It doesn't matter, but so the first thing I did when actually had the option to get into my pause screen in my menu was to turn the zone chat off, the proximity chat, I think it was called. But you could still hear other people's sprinting footprints running around on the metal floor of the vault, above, below, outside your door. And on one hand, it felt nice for the simple fact that you're not alone. A lot of people I've seen are really hesitant about the multiplayer aspect, but I'm going to cover that later. But the multiplayer aspect in this case is fine. There wasn't too many people to really get in the way of me enjoying the tutorial sequence kind of inside of the vault, as it's guiding you through from station to station to pick up a couple of supplies and prepare you for the outside world, the outside life of the vault. So then you just you can go into the overseer's office and accept the main quest, which I suggest you do. Read through the terminals, get some history and lore about it. This is all the first day of the beta and the stress test before that I managed to get into. So once you get outside of the vault, there's a dead responder there. You can loot the body, get your first gun. Da-da-da-da, my first gun. And go around killing some Chinese communist bots. They remind me a lot of, if you've ever seen that one kind of robot ball that can curl up into a ball and roll around with gyroscopes, and someone put sound bites of the turrets from Portal in there, in that thing. It reminds me of those. They look very adorable, and I kind of feel bad for killing them, because they're probably the cutest thing I've encountered in the game so far, other than stuffed bears. Let me tell you about stuffed bears. In previous game, they're all brown. Some could be bigger, some could be smaller. In this game, they actually have different kinds of stuffed bears, and I freaking love it. They have imported Chinese communist bears that are panda bears. They have Arctic bears, the standard brown bear. They have a Mr. Fuzzy cat with a bow tie. And I think there's a couple of others, various kind of stuff like that. There's straight up doll that I've encountered. A children girl's doll. I love it. It's a shame you can't, as far as I know, can't fully decorate your house. Anytime you want to drop something, it's in a little paper bag. Which brings me to my next point. Inventory management. It is a big freaking deal. Strength, of course, is how much you can carry. It affects how much you can carry. I think each point of strength is either 5 or 10 points into your carrying capacity. So I have frequently found myself just over encumbered everywhere I go. And the good thing about being over encumbered in this game is you can still jog like normal, but it drains your AP. You're not slowed to a crawling pace until your AP is drained, but then it will regenerate as you're still moving to about a quarter of its normal capacity, your AP. But your carrying capacity, you're really going to have to manage your inventory. You're really going to have to manage your stash box. Your stash box is where you can just store all your stuff, and it's yours and yours forever. No one can loot it from you. Like when you go to your camp, your home base, your stash box is there, it's filled with your crap, no one can loot that. Same at Red Rockets. I thought when I first encountered a stash box in a Red Rocket, it was someone else's stuff. This was during the stress test before the beta. I thought it was someone else's stuff, so I was like, oh my god, this is all mine now. And joke on me, I'm now over encumbered and have to plant my camp over here. So I plant my camp and I go to this, I put down a stash box. I'm like, hey, where'd all my stuff go? And then it clicked. That the stash box in the Red Rocket was named my stash box. It wasn't labeled someone else's stash box. It was labeled literally my stash box, as well as the one that I put in my camp. So I put 2 and 2 together. There we go. No one can loot your specific stash box, but the box has a 400 item limit. And when I first was playing, they might have fixed it in one of the updates between different beta days. But when I first, almost every single individual item I put in a stash box counted towards that limit. So I would have like 50 308 rounds inside of the stash box, and I would put 50 more in. And in previous games, it would just, what's the word? Stack. It would stack and not count towards capacity. But for a while, it did. So I would everything out and then put which is something you have to do with junk. I am dead serious. If you're gonna be building settlements and camps that look really, really nice, you're gonna have to take all of your junk out of your stash box, deconstruct it all, and put it back in the save space in the stash box. All right, and now I've covered like the tutorial, the stash box. I built myself a nice little shack for a friend and I. I'm gonna get to multiplayer with friends later, but I built myself a nice little shack on the railroad tracks just south of Morganton. And it was real nice. You would come up over the hill following the track and it would be right there, just blocking the way. There's one door in the front on the track, another on the back. And items in your settlement and your camp have durability this time around. So your, hell's it called? Like the walls, the doors, they all have like a health bar. And you can repair it all when you're at like the camp station itself. You can press Y to repair all structures, which is extremely useful. So if you have like a big, expansive camp, you don't need to look around for each individual part. You can just bada bing, bada boom, everything is fixed. Of course, it costs resources, it costs junk to do that, so you're gonna want to constantly be picking up junk. But I put down a stash box for both me and my friend for aesthetic reasons. 2 beds, some posters on the wall. I was surprised with just how early I was able to get like every single one of the workstations, except for power armor. I haven't gotten a power armor workstation yet. I'll probably get that on the next 2 beta days. Well, I'll only be able to play one since my day job of scavenging. So like on the 8th, I might be able to find a power armor workstation to put somewhere. But power armor is definitely very interesting. I do not think you have to be a certain level to equip a frame, but you do have to be a certain level to equip armor pieces. It was level 15 for Raider power armor. I just reached level 15, but you're really gonna want to be watching your fusion cores. That was like a big thing for me in Fallout 4, was I'm gonna have to be using fusion cores to be using this power armor. So I would just store all my fusion cores. I ended up having like 3,000 of them by the end of playing, because I'd found like 6 in a chest in an end of dungeon box. But I've only found 3 fusion cores. One was at 100, another was at 50. The first one I found was at 25. I got that with the power armor frame that I found. And it was funny as hell. I was playing with my two team members, and we all see the power armor at the same time. I sprint forward because I'm the only one not over encumbered at this point. And I sprint forward. There. So let's get to playing with friends. My friend Devin, we've been playing Xbox together for probably 5 years or so now. Started with Grand Theft Auto 5, GTA 5. Yeah. Just getting online, and he sends me a random stranger sends me a party invite on the 360. Xbox 360. And I joined and hey. He was like, hey, would you like to play with our group? We're off to do some a heist. I'm like, hell yeah, bro. I'm always down for a heist. So I get in, we just continue to play, the next day, so on and so forth. We become friends, even though we live a couple of hundred miles away from each other. One of these days, I'd like to drive up there. I'd like to drive up there to Washington, D.C., where he lives, and just surprise visit. It's me, your Xbox friend. I'm not as handsome as Xbox friend. I'm not as handsome as you thought. But I was already level 5 or so when he gets out of the vault. So I guide him through early learning processes that I have experience with, camp building, doing quests, looting, combat, harvesting the stuff in Flatwoods. The Flatwoods is the town of Flatwoods I would consider very much the tutorial area, because it tells you what to do, how things work in the game, how to craft, how to craft items, and how to build camps and stuff like that. And it's all very nonchalant. You go through the story and you're learning while doing it. A lot of people who's going to play Fallout 76 have already played previous Fallouts and have a base in overwhelming forces. And I've done that before alone, encountered an overwhelming force of Scorched, and I had to retreat. I had to pick them off one by one with a sniper rifle I picked up, a hunting rifle, until I managed to get to where I needed to go. So 2 or 3 friends, I had 2 friends playing with me, so it was 3 of us total. We were able to clear out a dungeon pretty quickly, even if we split up, which is dangerous still, because we would encounter it was an old munitions factory, and swarming with super mutants, and I split up. I went to the roof, they stuck together and survived. I barely made it out alive, but overall it was fantastic. So group up with friends. It doesn't ruin the game, I should say. It makes the game more fun, because you're experiencing the same thing. It'll be night, you'll be running through the forest, and your friend will be like, oh, cool, an Orphane. He loots it, you go up, you loot it, and it's like having an extra pair of eyes, an extra pair of hands, just a good time. Just be good friends with the person, because if you're kind of strangers, the third person in my group was my friend's friend. So we were kind of strangers to each other. So when my friend would go get offline for a few to eat dinner, and it would just be his friend and me, it felt kind of lonely because we didn't really have much to talk about. But when my friend came back, it was a lot easier to talk to him, to trade. Just overall a better experience with a friend. But of course you can still play by yourself and still get everything done by yourself. the difficulty feels ramped up, but I haven't played like level 15 Fallout 4 and I don't know how long. I've always been God level in Fallout 4 in recent memory, so I'm not familiar with being low level again, how it was in that game. But being low level in 76 is hard. It's not impossible. You can do it with a fair amount of ease, but it is more difficult than playing with friends, of course. And that basically rings true for any real multiplayer game. Other than like Call of Duty, because I hate those. Fuck them. Although I hear Black Ops 4 is really good. Alright, so I talked about playing with friends. I talked about tutorial. I've talked about settlement building. Alright, back to, let's go back to settlement build. Let's touch on that for another second. It's basically the same as Fallout 4. Basically. I wasn't able to plant walls wherever I wanted like in Fallout 4. I actually had to put a floor piece down. Whether it be like a concrete block or like some stilts, which are probably more bang for your buck, the stilts. But you would have to put a floor piece down before planting walls. And that's alright. I didn't really want to plant walls willy-nilly anyway. But there's like categories for stuff now. There's like, if you're in the wood section, like wood structure section, like left and right arrow buttons are to switch through. You'll be like on the standard wall, and then you press left a certain amount of times, you'll get to the walls, like the destroyed walls, the window walls, the door frame walls, to like wall frames, like the corner pieces or stuff like that or whatever. And instead of everything being at the bottom and like in Fallout 4, all the items and stuff were at the bottom in the menu. And you would like switch back and forth with the arrow keys up and down to go into the category. In Fallout 4, it's more, everything is at the top, and it feels like more structures to switch in between. Like the categories of like wood, metal, defenses, turrets. And then press down to switch between the different kind of, say you're in turrets, like it'll automatically be on like the level 1 turret you get at whenever, and press up and down arrows to get to different levels of turrets and whatnot. You'll probably have to have like an engineer perk card or whatever. So let me go on to the perk cards now. I'm already at 19 minutes, holy crap. I gotta wrap this up. So when it comes to the perk cards, you get your first set in the vault, and I like how it works. You'll probably be able to buy perk cards in the Adam store later, but as of right now, you weren't able to. You're only able to buy like outfits, a Pip-Boy skin, which I'm probably not gonna buy. But by completing challenges, you get Adam points or whatever it's called. Anyway, back to perk cards. So when you level up, you can put a skill point into one of your special skills, and each card has a special skill requirement. Say you leveled up and put a point into perception. You now have 2 perception, but in the card pack that you just unwrapped, that the game gives you, you have a perception card that takes 4 perception. You wouldn't be able to equip that card, but if you keep leveling perception up to 4, you'll be able to. And something else you can do is just spam cards into a certain special skill. So let's go back with perception. If you have 7 perception, say you've put all your points into perception, you can have 7 level 1 cards, and that's fantastic. I think that's cool. And I haven't really experienced sharing cards with my friends, since I put most of mine into luck so I can get like scavenger for more ammo, perception and intelligence and strength. I varied up pretty equally between those ones. But I think it's like charisma that I've heard from like press releases and other people's videos and stuff, that the charisma cards would be able to shared with your team. All right, so let's go to combat. Let's go to combat. I haven't talked about that yet. Combat is very fun. In Fallout 4, I didn't use VATS all too much to begin with. I used a crap ton of VATS in like Fallout 3 and New Vegas. So when it came to Fallout 4, I just didn't. The actual gunplay was easy enough and fun enough to where I didn't have to use VATS all too much. And it's similar in 76. In 76, everything being multiplayer has to be in real time. It can't be slowed down. So VATS is in real time. So you have to be very perceptive, because it starts off like, oh, you have 0% chance to hit, and then like half a second later it'll go to like 95% chance, 85, 65, 75, 85, 80, 90, 95, so on and so forth, all within like split seconds. And you have to really chance it, but I'd like to give it a benefit of the doubt and say it'll, as long as it's like above 50, you'll hit very much more often than not. Like almost it's giving you handouts when it comes to VATS hitting in VATS, yeah. And I really only used VATS for like things I wouldn't be able to hit on my own that are just like too jumpy. Like say the blood ticks in the game. Blood ticks, bloat flies, and like eyebots that fly around erratically that I wasn't able to get a beat on, you know? So actual like PvP now. Of course, PvP starts at level 5. You unlock a radio station called Hunted, like Hunter/Hunted, and when you get on that radio station, a certain amount of other players have to also turn on the radio station in order to get the quest, like kill so-and-so within a certain time period, and you'll get caps or whatever reward. That's real neat, because it gives you a big red circle on the map. However, you can just outright attack other players, but you're not able to do too much damage. On one of the first beta days, these two players were attacking me, and I just for the most part ignored it. They weren't really bothering me. So I'm just gonna keep doing what I'm doing and occasionally drink a water to heal myself. It really wasn't a nuisance at all. It wasn't too big of a deal. Especially at this level, everyone had like pipe weapons. So those aren't gonna do too much damage. But if you're like fresh out of the vault, say level 6, 7, 8, and you're having to fight like a level 20 guy, you're probably gonna have a bad time, because I've already have a weapon that does like 150, 100 some odd damage like that. I could wreck a level 8 player. I'm not going to, because I'm not a douche like some other people can be. But when it comes to PvP, it's not going to be like Swag Daddy 69 bent you over and fucked you, because everyone is essentially still going to be surviving. The map is so huge. I don't think, especially in the past few days, once I got away from the vault and like the first 2 towns, hold on, I gotta sneeze. Bless me. Once you get away from the vault and like the first 2 towns, start doing stuff on your own, you're alone. You will not encounter anyone. The map is so huge that you're alone. It feels like that, and it feels wonderful. Like Fallout feels like a different breed of Fallout now. In previous game, it was all 200 some odd years in the future. Everything is dead, dying. There is no color. Everything is just dreary, and you're suffering, and you hate it. But this Fallout 76 feels so alive. It's only like 25 or so years or something like that after the bombs fell, so trees are still alive. The mutations are fresh. There's the big enemy of a Scorched Beast, which I fought with my friends. It was level 50, we were level 15. We died over and over trying to kill that Scorched Beast. But after so many times, he just healed up. Like, we knocked 50% of his health off, and then he just healed up, and we were like, alright, screw this, we're done. But with other players being in Fallout now, with the foliage being fall colors, reds, oranges, greens, with there being a significant amount of shrubbery, with leaves, grass, it feels alive. And with the lighting effects through the trees, it's beautiful. You might have to mess around with the field of view, because far off things can be really blurry and kind of get to you sometimes. I loved it though. The photo mode is fun. I put some pictures up on one of my Facebook groups for Fallout of like comparing Mothman in real life to the Mothman in the game, like the statues and the museum and whatnot, and Point Pleasant in general. But I'm almost here to my job. But if you were hesitant about getting Fallout 76, unless you have something else planned, like unless you're already playing Red Dead Redemption 2, which I hear is fantastic, unless you're gearing up for like another like insanely huge launch of a franchise or a new game you're really into, get Fallout 76. It's fun, it's real, and it has improved a lot as well. So I think the launch is going to be less buggy than other games, which I've never had a problem with the launches of other games as well. So, all right, everyone, Teddy, Jeff, John. But to wrap this up to my 0 viewers and 0 views in general, Fallout 76 is going to be the game I'm going to be playing for months now. I'm sorry, girlfriend. I'm sorry, family. I have a new game that I spent $255 on to get the Power Armor helmet. Hell yes. So, I hope my ramblings made sense. I hope you get the game, and I hope I can see you out in the wasteland. Until then, happy scavenging. Let's see. How do I turn off? Because I'm fine with being a couple of minutes late to work. Ah, there it is. A little X up here. Are you sure you want to stop streaming? Yes.